That's
So it
so
was like
cool.
really, really fast.
How much your Asian identity plays a part in you choosing what projects you want to work on?
That's a really good question.
Hey everyone, I am joined by the writer and director of the film Sunday, and we just released it on our main channel.
You can check it out and then come back here to watch an extended interview.
Yep. When watching the short film, there's a familiar face on our side. You worked with Brandon Suhu, who's been in a handful of stuff that we've made, and you have a wonderful cast in general. What was it like kind of casting this, and especially from a story that's pretty personal to you?
Yeah, I mean, the casting process was both incredibly easy and also like very difficult because I had been familiar with Brandon, and he was always like I was kind of writing with him in mind because I knew I wanted to cast an East Asian male just because I'm an East Asian male and that's what felt personal to me. Um, and I had been familiar with Brandon through the Wang Fu work, and that's where I first, saw his stuff from like everything before us. And I had seen a trailer at the time. I don't think the film was out for Our Home Here, which was another Wong Fu Presents short. And so I was like, okay, like I feel like he can do it, and I feel like he would be good for it. And then for the female character, I really wanted to cast a South Asian girl just because I grew up in a city called Fremont. And I grew up with a lot of Asian Americans, like both East Asian and South Asian, and just all sorts. And the image of an East Asian South Asian couple just was very familiar to me. And for some reason, it's something that I've like never really seen in media. The first time I really remember seeing like an East Asian guy with a South Asian girl, or vice versa, in like an interracial relationship was on Never Have I Ever. And I think I saw that after we shot too. And so it was just kind of like, oh, that's something that feels very familiar to me. That should be just a part of the story. That like we don't there's no reason it has to be like that, but we should just try and do that. We ended up reaching out to Brandon directly, and then Deepti is a friend of mine. She did like an audition, but like once she came in, I was like, oh, like she's great. Like she's so good. And the last person, Nick, he was someone we found just like a in normal audition process, and I was like, he's so funny. And then he came in the room and we just like improv a bunch, and I was like, okay, he's awesome. He has the part.
Another thing about the production, it looked beautiful, and I love the way it was shot. It was shot on film, and I was wondering if you could talk about the choice to shoot this on film, and like what maybe the most challenging part of that was, and maybe what the most rewarding part was.
So we shot this movie on film, and I think there were sort of two or three like non-negotiables for me for this short, which was I wanted to shoot in New York. I wanted to shoot like on the streets of New York and sort of like a run and gun style, and I wanted to shoot on film. I just really wanted that experience of like shooting on film and what that would do to I was just sort of curious like what that would do to the process, because I've listened to a lot of other filmmakers talk about how film shapes their process and how, when you're rolling, you're literally rolling money. And so everyone is sort of a little bit more focused. And so that was always like, we're going to shoot this on film. I'm just curious what that feels like. It's all shot at night, which is like, made it really tough to shoot on film actually, because we needed like a lot more lights, and we also had like very little money. But it really saved us because we had such little time for the shots, and on our first day like our camera wasn't working right, and so we were already like hours behind our first shot. But because we had to just keep moving, we couldn't do like 10 takes of something. Once we started rolling, we just like caught up, because we're like, okay, well, we only have 10 rolls of film, like we can't keep shooting. So it was just like a really fun experience, and it was also a really good learning experience in terms of, I think, how I'll keep working moving forward, even if I don't shoot on film, of how to sort of be diligent and not waste rolling time without having to.
Yeah, and sometimes like it's like a good lesson too, because most times you do get it in the first one or two takes, and I guess even from an actor's perspective, extra pressure, but also maybe it produces a different type of performance and product too. So
yeah, and I think from a directing standpoint, like giving direction, I think I really was trying to like make sure I gave really good direction between takes, because I was like, okay, that first one wasn't great. Like we have to nail it on the second one. So I have to make sure that I'm like giving the right direction. Otherwise, we're not going to get it.
You can't like experiment really with this one and like just take another take just to find it. Yeah,
exactly. No safeties.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And it was shot by Sam Davis, who's amazing DP, one of my best friends, and is a genius.
I also wanted to point out that you are also the filmmaker of the short film Hags, Have a Great Summer, which was very popular, got circulated a lot online, that resonated with a lot of Asian Americans too. And I feel like one thing that's like common between all your films, even like 3,000 Miles, is that like it's like not explicitly about the Asian American community or like about race or at all, but it's very faithful to an Asian experience, you know, and it's very personal to you. And I was wondering how much like your Asian identity plays a part in you choosing what projects you want to work on.
It's a really good question. I think it's something that I think about a lot and I talk a lot with my friends is sort of like, I think a lot of the films that you mentioned, they do, I think, explore, you know, the Asian American experience, but I think it's like, it's not something I set out to do. It's always sort of a byproduct of just the fact that I am Asian American and the film just happens to be sort of exploring a personal experience or is sort of like lifted from my life. And so it becomes Asian American by the sheer fact that I am Asian American. I think when I've been approached to like do stuff that maybe explicitly explores that, that to me is something I've sort of had trouble navigating because I think once I try to do it, it becomes like, oh, what am, you know, it becomes something that like doesn't end up doing what those shorts have done because that was never the point. It was just sort of the result. And so, yeah, I don't know if this is a canned answer because I think I'm still sort of figuring out how to navigate that side of filmmaking and those stories and how to do it with purpose, but also not make it feel forced in a way. Yeah,
you're approaching it the right way, and like I guess like I'm interested in that stuff too because it's like the same things that we think about here at our company when we approach our work. It is a result of like there not being that many voices, you know what I mean? And so whenever you make something, it feels like it has to satisfy a lot of boxes. I think what your films do really well and what Sunday does really well is that, like you said, it's personal first and foremost because of you being Asian and having an Asian experience and you're speaking on that, it's already like super authentic and will resonate with a lot of people. I just want to say like, yeah, thanks for you know, continuing to tell stories like this. I guess I want to also encourage people to watch Hags if you haven't already. It's also a great film from Sean. I noticed that the executive producer for this short film is Carlos Lopez Estrada, another filmmaker, prolific filmmaker too. Like, how did you get him to be on board?
So Carlos and I met a few years ago, and he had invited me to work on his second movie called Summertime. And that was shot maybe in like the summer of 2019, I think. And so we had met a few months before that. And over the course of the movie and over the course of just kind of working with him, we became really good friends. And he was running a production company at the time called Little Ugly. Mm-hmm. So Little Ugly produced Summertime, and I sort of had met everyone there, and I sort of became really good friends with him. So when it came time to prepping Sunday, I just sort of thinking, I was like, oh, who do I know who would be interested in working on like a low budget short film that's like, you know, very scrappy. And living in New York, I had been working a lot in the commercial world, and so it was hard for me to like think of people who would be interested in making something like with very little money. But Carlos comes from the world of music videos and having worked on Summertime, which was really scrappy and indie. He has experience, you know, doing things really big and really small. And so before we really even had anything put together, except the fact that like I wanted to make the short, I just reached out and sort of asked him if he knew anybody in New York. Really, it was just based off of that. He was like, look, like, we'll help you make this.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so him and his producing partner at the time, Kimberly Stuckwish, came on board and they were like, all right, let's hit the ground running. Let's do this. And so without him and her, like they really kicked it into high gear and like made it possible. I think like I texted him and then within a few weeks we were shooting.
That's
so it was like
cool.
really fast.
He's a good person to have, you know, on your side. And
yeah, I mean, he's obviously incredibly talented, but he's also just incredibly nice and kind and generous.
Well, Just want to say thank you, Sean, for allowing us to share Sunday with our audience on our channel. We just love the film.
Thanks, Taylor. And also thanks to the Wang Fu team and the Wang Fu Presents team for having us and supporting the film.
And if you would like to see any other work from Sean or follow him on his journey, I'll put some links down below for you to check out. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye. Hi, this short is one of 3 films that are part of our Wang Fu Presents series. You can check out the other 2 films through the links below. Wang Fu Presents has been our way to uplift other artists in the community and spotlight stories we feel need to be shared. We are so grateful that we have a platform to be able to do this, and we hope to do it more routinely. If you'd like a chance to be part of Wang Fu Presents, we are actively taking submissions. Follow the link in the description to learn how. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.